if you're engaging an architect or if you're engaging anyone, it's really important that we listen to those advices. Otherwise, what's the point of engaging someone? You know? And then combination of listening and taking action.
You're listening to the She Renovates podcast. You're listening to She Renovates, the podcast for women who want to renovate to create an income and a life they love.
So I really wanted to just really talk about your experience, but two, your thinking process going from being hell-bent on doing a for-profit project and then seeing the value in the PPOR strategy. Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, it's all started from when I saw that your diagram on the first, I think it was the second class, when you showed the profit and there was a pyramid. The PPOR was at the bottom of the pyramid, and then it was going up, 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 and then flipping was at the end. And I was thinking, hang on, that absolutely makes sense, because even the place, our Pennant Hills, which I renovated, and I didn't know. I mean, I knew about you, but because of the conflict of interest, I couldn't pick up the class with you. So even the Pennant Hills property was a testimony to that, because I bought that house, 1.4 million. I spent, maybe I overspent as well, but that's a different story. But all these renovation, which I really enjoyed doing it, and we lived there and we really loved what we did. When you add that up, and then when I thought that, oh, maybe if I sell that, I'm going to get that much money. The profit was it was just out there. And I was thinking, hang on. So the theory backs the practical, the practicality. And so I just need to grab it. And, that's where the penny dropped. That was the light bulb moment for me. But the difficult part was, I also had an investment property, and then Yossi, I needed to bring her on a journey, and it was a lot of time. And then I remember you called me, and I was so preoccupied with almost thinking, and then you asked me, what are you selling? Because I asked your help if you know any sales advocate, and then you called me and you said, what are you selling? And I said, Bernadette, it's all happened from this week because you showed me that presentation, that graph, and it makes sense. I'm going to make it happen. I'm selling my investment property. I'm selling my principal place of residence, because that's where I can make the biggest buck for my effort, and that's a place of residence, tax free. I'm going to live in it. I'm going to enjoy in it, and then after 5 years, hey, move on to the next one. Why not?
Yeah.
So it really crystallized the strategy for me, and your help was really good, and also sales advocate, which was a new concept for me. All these the lessons learned that you're sharing in your classes are amazing, and some people just hearing it, but for me, I say, hang on, it's not just a word, it's not just a sentence. There's 30 years of experience, or many years of experience behind that statement. I remember there was another thing that you mentioned, and people just heard it. I was thinking, hang on, this again, I've been through this pain, and I know what she's talking about, and this is a really valuable statement. And I think sometimes for the people who've done this, they get it. But if you haven't done renovation and you're learning, it's just anything in life. You listen, you hear, and hopefully one day you revert back to that statement again.
Yeah, I think so. There's a saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I think that that's so sort of relevant, and particularly because I really get that. And I know a lot of, we include in our program does fall on deaf ears. And I worry about it because it just makes the whole idea of a seller's advocate. Now, I've been saying that for a long time. But it's only when someone like you picks it up and actually does it and then says, oh my God, this really, was a game changer, that then people start to take notice. And I think also maybe it's about my delivery. But anyhow, I really love that you are on the path that you're on because, as we agree, that the upside of it is massive. And but one of the things that I really love about how you operate is that you're such an action taker. And talk about get value. So how many months have you been at this?
I got into your program in July, I think.
Yeah.
That was and then the presentation that you had was I think week 2, when you showed that presentation and that pyramid of profit versus the investment, and I think it's all happened from there. But if I hadn't attended your School of Renovation program, I always wanted to buy a second investment property. It's just, I always had that I had my loan ready. I wasn't sure what strategy I want to do. It's just when I saw that graph and then I caught up with another property advisor, the strategy kind of suddenly changed. So I think from mid-July, that's where I put all the motion in gears, and then I engaged sales advocate. And I think I sold my investment property in 5 days. It was in a Marrickville, 1 unit, 1 bed. And it went so quick. And we thought that, oh, hang on, is it a mistake? Because we sold it very quick, and we sold it at a really good price, I have to say, with the help of sales advocate. So we thought that, hang on, maybe we should have gone to the auction, but we didn't realize. And then we tried auction for our place of residence, and going through the auction with the same sales advocate, then the lessons learned for me and my wife was, hey, auction is not always the best answer. I mean, what we did for our investment property was spot on, was a perfect approach. 5 days, maximize your profit, move on. And the auction, we tried it, but should we do the auction for the next place of residence? We don't know, and maybe not the answer. But these are the things that you learn down the track. You learn by doing it. But the sales advocate expedite the process significantly. So there's no question about that.
So I have actually done, for listeners, we've done an episode on seller's advocate, which we will put what number it is in the show notes so you can go back and listen to it. I think it's important to note that normally I wouldn't be that keen about someone selling an investment property, but because it sort of didn't have a lot of equity in it, I think, and it's, sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do to get you to the next step. And so sort of the end justifies the means. But the deal, and I think the next thing we can talk about is looking at 2 different deals and one having a vastly different outcome to the other one. Yeah, because what you've got is an absolute cracker. So do you want to talk through the properties, maybe starting from Pennant Hills and then moving on to...
Yeah, absolutely. So a bit of background. I mean, I grew up in Iran, in Tehran. So I came to Australia when I was 25. And, when you're young, when you're exploring different countries, you've got different mindset. Eventually got married, kids, and then suddenly thought, oh, hang on, I don't have any house. I need to, start from somewhere. So it took me 7 years renting and saving to save for our Pennant Hills house, which was the first house we bought in Sydney back in 2019. And I remember before COVID hit the market, we were waiting in a queue, in area like Beecroft, Cheltenham, Pennant Hills. I remember it was February. My son was back then 12 months. And I was holding my son and waiting in a queue, 20 people ahead of us, looking at a house, very aged house in Cheltenham, which was within our budget. And it was very depressing, very, very difficult situation. And suddenly March 2019, COVID hit the market and everyone was so scared. But I didn't lose focus, and I still attending all these inspections. Back then, you had to make an appointment. It was only one-on-one inspection with the agent. We went to an inspection in Pennant Hills. It was a very aged property, but the prospect was amazing, very good land, ticked all the boxes that I had in my head. And being a structural engineer also helped me, because I knew that structurally I don't need to do anything. It's all going to be aesthetic, and although renovation would be very simple. So initially, at the back of my head, I did calculations saying, I'm going to spend that much on this, and that. Okay, it's a good deal. This is how much I'm going to pay. And we were the only one put an offer on the table, and we got it straight away on the same day. And I remember my brother, who lived still living in Melbourne, told me, "Mo, you're doing a wrong thing, because the property price going to drop another 10%. ANZ said it's going to drop another 20%." And my response to my brother was, "Hey, I know, but I've already bought it at a good price. So I already took 10%. I'm already 10% ahead. Should the property price goes down another 10%, not a problem. I'll vary it. I'm going to do a long-term investment." And he wasn't wrong, because I bought it in March. The settlement was in May. By July 2019, it went down another 10-15% there. And suddenly in 3 months, from July till September 29th, gone to
Yeah.
the roof. So I was happy with the purchase. And then my wife said, "Hey, before we move in, let's just do all this renovation. We've got kids. We can't do renovation. As soon as we move in, nothing gonna happen." She knew me very well. So we didn't move. We were still renting in Rhodes, and we did all the renovation, and then we moved in a year later. And back then, again, I didn't know anything about renovation in Australia. So I was doing it bit by bit. I thought that I'm only going to remove the wall. I ended up renovating the entire house, changing the windows, changing the doors, all the cabling, all the services, because I thought that I'm going to live here forever. Let's just do it properly. And hindsight is a good thing. If I go back to 2019, would I do the same thing? Probably. I still buy that property, but I'm not going to spend as much as I did. This time I would be more wise in my expenditure. So that's the penalties story. In the meantime, economy gone better. Everyone was working now. The COVID fear disappeared. And then 2022, we bought our investment property in Marrickville, because, there was equity in the house, and someone said, "Hey, use your house as a equity, and then get a cross-collateralized loan,
Okay.
and then allocate 100% of your investment." Anyway, I had no idea what they're talking about. I was saying, "Oh, that sounds good. As long as I don't pay anything from my pocket, let's do that." And I bought an investment unit in Marrickville, very good place, very close to the station. I mean, the locality was good, but it was already renovated, and I couldn't add any value to it. I bought that, and then the life goes on. The rent was good, and then 2024 July, when I attended your program, that's where all the pieces of puzzles, which was scattered everywhere, start coming in a frame that you put together. And I thought that, hang on, I can correlate to that. Oh, my investment property, maybe it's not a good property, because the strategy session that I had with you, I know you mentioned that you need a land, and that strategy session was also very good, because your advice, again, you've been in the industry, you already been in our place like 20 years ago, whatever. So you already done all those things. So for us to not do the same mistake again and again, it was extremely valuable. And then as soon as you explained the strategy, I thought I had a chat with my wife, and I said, "Yossi, I think we already done a good job with our pen and his place, but with the Marrickville, maybe not so good. But hey, that's okay. Let's just look forward. Maybe we buy another Maybe we buy a bigger house in a better place, better suburb. We do then better renovation, less cost." And again, I mean, these are the things that you got to do over and over. But hearing it in a class, and then having like-minded people who talk about same things is extremely beneficial. And that's all about the community, because the community helps each other. Like,
Yeah.
you helped us to find the buyer's agent, Joe Vadillo. And then again, she was another fantastic help, because the property that we purchased in North Wahroonga, we bought it off market, no competition. It belonged to a couple who've been there for 35 years. They didn't want any hassle, any drama. They just want to sell it and then move on to next chapter of their life. And if we didn't have Joe, we would have never able to found that property. So these are the things that, all those pieces of puzzles that, it's scattered in my head. When it comes to a big frame, so, oh, hang on. Next time I'm going to go this, I'm going to do this. It's going to be quicker and it's going to be, better value for money. And that's how we avoid mistakes. So for me, Bernard, I have to say, it was an amazing lessons the last couple of months since July. It was personally, it was amazing journey for me, and I'm sure long run I can through the seeds of this fantastic investment or strategy that I've done now, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think that well, I think, as I said, you created your own luck because you're an action taker, and I think that is very powerful. To have made those leaps in 6 months, less than 6 months, is extraordinary. And the one thing I did want to come back to is, like, so you found this property that was in Wahroonga in a different location. And then then there was this other, and every man and his dog was after that first one. And then Joe located this second one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Before I met Joe, there was a property in Campbell Drive, 100, I forgot the number, but there was a property in Campbell Drive, 5-bed, needed a bit of renovation, but the house was good, big, swimming pool, ticked all the boxes, 3 bedrooms in one floor, 2 bedrooms in another floor. It was exactly matched our brief. So we went and we caught up with the agent. The agent was trying, to see, to test the market, to test our budget and all those stuff. And then I thought that, hang on, before me giving too much away, maybe I need a buyer's agent because this is going to be another big investment. I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to give away all my cards. I need to have a filter. I need to have a buyer's agent. And that's where I caught up with Joe. And then Joe jumped on quickly on board. And then she said, hey, leave everything with me. Go again, have another look. And then if you really liked, leave the negotiation and everything with me, which that's what we did. In the meantime, Joe did the calculation behind the scene, and she told us, hey, if you really like this property, I think the value should be this. Don't ever go above that number because it's not going to be worth it. There would be more market, there would be more opportunity. There's always opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah.
If you miss this one, don't worry. There would be another one next around the corner. And we listen to her. So it's not just taking action, but also like with the sales advocate, these people gives us advice. It's really up to us because we need to have a trust first and then also listen to the advice. Otherwise, nothing gonna get done. So with Joe, we came up with a number. We put our offer in writing back to the agent. And then Joe said, hey, by the way, I've got another off-market property in Wahroonga. Do you want to have a look? And then I said, sure, let's go. And then when we went there, my wife loved that property, but my head was still on the Campbell Drive property.
I can tell that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, hang on, I'm too emotionally invested. I can't switch. It's so hard. And then it's just when the agent rejected our offer, and then said, oh, hang on, it's a good start, but you need to blah blah. And then that's when I started emotionally disconnecting from that Campbell Drive property. And then I start analytically looking at the property that Joe found us off market. So we went there for the second time. And the second time when I went there, because emotionally I was present, I looked at everything and said, hang on, okay, forget about Campbell Drive. Now this one, I think this is a great property as well. Why did I see that first time? So all those things start coming back to me, and my logic, and having a opportunity. Structurally, the house was fantastic. There was a lot of potential to improve. And by the way, the price is fantastic price. I mean, it's a bargain if you ask me now.
But also the difference between those two, because you remember when we were in that meeting and I asked Joe if that first one, Campbell Road, was, presented to its maximum potential, could you get 4 million for it? And she said no. And then we looked at the other one. So could we get 4 million for this one? She said yes. And so there is the secret to getting ahead financially. So we're talking $1 million apart pretty much.
Correct.
And that first one went for over 3 anyhow, didn't it?
Correct. It was sold. So our offer was 2.8. It was sold 3.07. Whereas the one that we got it, the bracket was 2.5 to 2.7, but our offer was 2.68. So we both, comparing, they're both 5 bedrooms, they're both in a very good location, both have a swimming pool. Sure, the Camel Drive was not in a bushfire area, but the one that we ended up buying, it is in a bushfire zone area. Not a problem. We lodge a DA. We go through all this renovation once we do our due diligence. It's just the timing and then getting it DA through. But I'm not scared of DA. Eventually, we make it happen.
Yeah. And I think the great thing about a really big house is you've got lots of floor plan to play with.
Correct.
And so one of the things that you've got in your plan is a gorgeous dressing room, which is every woman's dream. And we all know that women buy houses, don't we?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely correct. And then the dressing room, the size of the dressing room is just another room for itself. So I think it's like 3.7 by another 3.5. It's a big room, but it's all going to be dedicated for dressing and, makeuping purposes. So I'm sure my wife would be very pleased after all these years that she's been asking. So we couldn't be any happier. I think, touch wood, I'm not going to jinx it, but I think we are now counting days. The settlement of our North Wahroonga house is in November. And then with the Pennant Hills sales, it's a 5 weeks gap. So I've got 5 weeks. My plan is, I've already found a very good architect. So if you ever wanted one, I can.
You have to say that. Otherwise you get kicked off the show.
Yeah, no, we are working on a mood board and the color and all this internal conceptual design, which hopefully we're going to get that sorted by mid next week. And then 2nd of November, once we get the settlement, I've got 5 weeks. My plan is 1st of November, sorry. My plan is from 1st of November till 6th of December, I'm going to paint the entire house, change the entire skirting, architraves. The doors are really old, so I'm going to put the brand new doors with the proper nice door, hardware, and change the carpet on first floor, and that's it. We move in with the ground floor where the kitchen and lounges and all these family area are located. It's currently functional. I think once we put a fresh fresh coat of paint on it, it's going to look amazing. And then I'm going to work to come up with the DA drawings and then find a contractor who can help me with. So I've got a bit of work to do, but in that 5 weeks, I've already I'm getting a quote from different packages of painters, carpenter, and also the carpet layer to make sure that in that 5 weeks, I can line them up and then easily get it done. And so we're really looking forward to that, getting the house and get on with it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm so pleased for you. And so, and of course, now we have a class project as well, which you're involved in too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another one, amazing one, Melbourne. We're very pleased. Yeah.
So
that would keep us busy. And we also need to make another class project in Sydney.
So as soon as the Melbourne one is up and running, that will be the next move.
Nice.
Yeah. I just need to get that on its get that going and make sure that our plan is sound, and then we can think about the next one. Yeah.
Excellent. You can always count on me on that. And given Sydney, it's our patch. More than happy to help. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, thank you for that. I think the message that comes out of this session is, one, take actions. One thing to training, next thing to take action, and the other thing to be coachable, which I think is what you do really well. And it's, it's showing because you're getting such enormous results. And we're really happy for you, because I think, couldn't happen to a nicer person.
Thank you so much. And to be honest, I totally agree with you. I guess I think that listening and being engaged in the program, it's the first step. I mean, we can't expect everyone to understand everything at the first go, especially if they haven't done renovation or construction works before. So it takes time. But the second thing that I'm really going to emphasize is if you engage a sales advocate, or if you're engaging an architect, or if you're engaging anyone as an advisor, it's really important that we listen to those advices. Otherwise, what's the point of engaging someone? You know? And then combination of listening and taking action. And I think having a good partner also helps, because
Absolutely. Yeah.
it takes two to tango, to dance, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really helps. Yeah, I'm very pleased that I've got all those good things at the same time.
Beautiful. Well, listen, thank you for your time, Mohammad. I think that you will have what you've shared will provide value to a lot of people.
I hope so.
And I appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you so much, Bernadette, for what you're doing. Love what you're doing, and then keep up with the good work.
Thank you.
This is the She Renovates podcast. To discover how to harness the power of renovating, check out theschoolofrenovating.com.